Q9342-2. The holder of an ADP certificate with restricted privileges or an ADP certificate who also holds an aircraft type rating for the aircraft to be flown may act as A. A PIC for a Part 121 supplemental air carrier. B. A PIC for a Part 121 air carrier with 500 hours as a Part 121 SIC. C. An SIC for a Part 121 air carrier. The correct answer is C. According to 14 CFR Part 61.167, the holder of an airline transport pilot certificate with restricted privileges or an airline transport pilot certificate who also holds an aircraft type rating for the aircraft to be flown may act as a second-in-command (SAC) for a Part 121 air carrier. An airline transport pilot certificate with restricted privileges is a certificate that allows the holder to act as a second-in-command on aircraft that require an airline transport pilot certificate. The holder of this certificate must have at least 1,500 hours of total flight time, including 500 hours of cross-country flight time and 100 hours of night flight time. Of the 1,500 hours, 250 hours must be in actual or simulated instrument flight conditions. An airline transport pilot certificate is a certificate that allows the holder to act as a pilot in command, PIC, on aircraft that require an airline transport pilot certificate. The holder of this certificate must have at least 1,500 hours of total flight time, including 500 hours of cross-country flight time and 100 hours of night flight time. Of the 1,500 hours, 250 hours must be in actual or simulated instrument flight conditions. A type rating is a rating that allows the holder to act as a PIC or SIC on a specific type of aircraft. The holder of a type rating must have received training and passed a check ride in the specific type of aircraft. A Part 121 air carrier is an air carrier that operates under the regulations of 14 CFR Part 121. These regulations govern the operation of scheduled air carriers. A second-in-command, SIC, is a pilot who is second-in-command of an aircraft. The SIC is responsible for assisting the pilot-in-command, PIC, with the safe operation of the aircraft. This includes monitoring the aircraft's systems, communicating with air traffic control, and assisting with navigation. The SIC must also be prepared to take over control of the aircraft in the event that the PIC becomes incapacitated. 9334. What recent experience is required to be eligible for the practical test for the original issue of a Category II authorization? A. Within the previous 6 months, 6 ILS approaches flown manually to the Category IDH. B. Within the previous 12 calendar months, 6 ILS approaches flown by use of an approach coupler to the Category I or Category II DH. C. Within the previous 6 months, 6 ILS approaches, 3 of which may be flown to the Category IDH by use of an approach coupler. The correct answer is C. According to 14 CFR Part 61.57 C, to be eligible for the practical test for the original issue of a Category II authorization, a pilot must have at least 6 instrument approaches within the previous 6 months, 3 of which may be flown to the Category I decision height, DH, by use of an approach coupler. The FAA requires that pilots who want to be authorized to fly Category II approaches have recent experience flying instrument approaches. This experience helps to ensure that pilots are proficient in flying approaches in low visibility conditions. An approach coupler is a device that helps pilots to fly instrument approaches. The approach coupler automatically flies the aircraft along the approach path and provides the pilot with guidance on the proper altitude and heading. Category II approaches are allowed to be conducted when the visibility is between 100 and 200 feet and the ceiling is between 200 and 400 feet. Category II approaches are more demanding than Category I approaches and require pilots to have more recent experience flying instrument approaches. 9345. To be eligible for the practical test for the renewal of a Category II authorization, what recent instrument approach experience is required? A. Within the previous 6 months, 6 ILS approaches, 3 of which may be flown to the category IDH by use of an approach coupler. B. Within the previous 6 months, 6 ILS approaches flown by use of an approach coupler to the category IDH. C. Within the previous 12 calendar months, 3 ILS approaches flown by use of an approach coupler to the category II DH. The correct answer is A. A pilot must have completed at least 6 ILS approaches since the beginning of the 6th month prior to the test in order to qualify for Category II authorization. These approaches must be made in actual or simulated instrument flight conditions, all the way up to the minimum landing altitude required for an ILS approach in the type of aircraft used for the flight. The approaches do not have to be made at the decision heights permitted for Category II activities, nevertheless. 3 of these approaches at the very least must have been manually completed without the aid of an approach coupler. 9346. When may a Category II ILS limitation be removed? A. When 3 CAT MLS approaches have been completed to a 150-foot decision height and landing. B. When 6 ILS approaches to Category II minimums and landing have been completed in the past 6 months. C. 120 days after issue or renewal. The correct answer is A. A Category II authorization first issued has a 1,600 feet RVR and a 1s foot decision height restriction on Category II operations. When the holder can prove that they have completed 3 Category II/LS approaches to a landing under real or simulated instrument conditions with a 150-foot decision height since the beginning of the 6th prior month, the restriction is lifted. 9347. A Category II ILS pilot authorization, when originally issued, is normally limited to A. Category II operations not less than 1,600 RVR and a 150-foot DH. B. Pilots who have completed an FAA-approved Category II training program. C. Category II operations not less than 1,200 RVR and a 100-foot DH. The correct answer is A. The reason is that a Category II ILS, Instrument Landing System, pilot authorization, when originally issued, is typically limited to Category II operations not less than 1,600 RVR, Runway Visual Range, and a 150-foot DH, decision height. Category II operations refer to instrument approaches and landings conducted in low visibility conditions. The minimum visibility requirement for Category II operations is specified as 1,600 RVR. The decision height, DH, indicates the altitude at which the pilot must make a decision to continue the approach or initiate a missed approach. In the case of Category II operations, the DH is set at 150 feet. Therefore, pilots who receive a Category II ILS pilot authorization are initially limited to conducting operations with visibility not less than 1,600 RVR and a decision height of 150 feet.